Ladies and gentlemen, emotional contrast is one of the most powerful psychological triggers in human attraction, and it's especially effective when it comes to creating fascination in a romantic context. When we talk about emotional contrast, we mean the ability to show different layers of your personality in a way that is both natural and compelling. It's not about being fake or playing games. It's about expressing the full range of who you are. Most people present themselves in a very one-dimensional way when they're interested in someone. They either try too hard to be agreeable, constantly smiling and nodding, or they go the opposite direction and act distant and aloof, thinking that will make them seem high value. The truth is that neither of these extremes create fascination. Fascination comes when you reveal unexpected sides of yourself that spark curiosity and stir emotional reactions. Imagine a woman who can be light and playful, teasing a man with witty banter and making him laugh, but who can also suddenly shift gears and speak from a place of deep sincerity or vulnerability. That emotional pivot is what captures attention. It's not about mood swings or being inconsistent. It's about being real. Life isn't one note, and neither are we. When you express different emotional tones in your interactions, when you can be fun and spontaneous in one moment and thoughtful and soulful in the next, it creates a kind of emotional texture that keeps someone wanting more. Men don't become addicted to perfection, they become addicted to depth, to the feeling that every time they're with you, they'll see a new side of you. It's this dynamic nature that sets you apart. What makes this so effective is that it taps into the natural way our brains are wired for novelty and reward. When something is predictable, our brains lose interest. But when there's just enough unpredictability, when a person can't quite pin you down emotionally, they stay engaged, they want to figure you out, understand you, get closer. It becomes a subtle psychological pull that keeps drawing them back in. This is why emotional contrast works so well. It disrupts the expected and replaces it with the intriguing. And in a world where most people are trying to be liked by sticking to safe emotional territory, the one who can dance between different energies becomes unforgettable. Another layer to this is that emotional contrast builds trust in a very subtle way. When a man sees that you can be playful and serious, warm and assertive, fun and grounded, it shows him that you're not just trying to please him, you're being yourself. That builds credibility. It tells him that you're emotionally intelligent, comfortable with yourself, and someone who can handle the ups and downs of a real relationship. And that is incredibly attractive. Emotional contrast doesn't just create excitement. It creates the impression that you have depth and range, and that spending time with you will never be boring. That's what keeps a man coming back. Not because he feels obligated, but because he's genuinely fascinated. Men don't fall for people, they fall for feelings. When a man is drawn to you, it's not just because of how you look or what you say. It's about how he feels when he's with you. This truth is often overlooked in dating advice, but it's one of the most powerful insights you can understand. People, especially men, become emotionally hooked on experiences that stir something inside them. Feelings of excitement, admiration, comfort, challenge, peace, or inspiration. If you become the source of those feelings, you become emotionally irresistible. He begins to associate you with the positive emotions he craves in his life, and that association forms a kind of psychological attachment that is hard to break. Think about it. We all have people in our lives who we're drawn to without fully understanding why. It's because of how they make us feel when we're around them. Whether it's a sense of ease, fun, or deep connection, those emotions stick with us long after the person has left the room. In romantic attraction, this effect is even more intense. A man may meet many women who are attractive, smart, or kind, but if you make him feel something unique, something that lights him up or grounds him, he won't forget you. He may not even be able to explain it, but he'll find himself wanting more of your time, your energy, your presence. What's even more powerful is that this isn't about manipulation. It's not about trying to act a certain way to trigger specific responses. It's about showing up in a way that's emotionally connected, present, and fully alive. When you're genuinely enjoying yourself, expressing real confidence, playfulness, curiosity, or passion, those emotions are contagious. The energy you bring into a room affects how other people feel. If you bring warmth, he feels safe. If you bring humor, he feels light and playful. If you bring a sense of calm, he feels peaceful. If you bring intensity and drive, he feels inspired. This is emotional influence, and it's one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. Many people focus on trying to be impressive, saying the right thing, appearing successful, having the perfect outfit. But the secret isn't in what you do, it's in how you make someone feel. A man may not remember every detail about your conversation, but he'll remember how his body relaxed when you smiled, how his heart beat faster when you laughed, or how grounded he felt when you spoke with conviction. If you consistently leave him with feelings that he doesn't experience often, or feelings he deeply craves, he will start to associate you with emotional fulfillment, and that's where the real addiction begins, not to you as an image or a fantasy, but to the emotional reality you create whenever you're around him. It's that feeling that keeps him thinking about you, missing you, and wanting more. Mystery has a magnetic pull that predictability simply cannot replicate. When something is predictable, our brains quickly categorize it, understand it, and move on. But when something carries even a hint of mystery, we become intrigued. We start thinking, wondering, and trying to figure it out. This mental engagement is exactly what fuels attraction, especially in romantic dynamics. Men, like anyone else, are drawn to what they can't quite figure out. When a woman presents herself in a way that isn't immediately obvious, that doesn't give everything away at once, it ignites curiosity. That curiosity turns into emotional investment, and that investment turns into a lasting desire to stay connected. Predictability, on the other hand, while comforting in some contexts, can be a silent killer of romance in the early stages. When a man knows exactly how you'll react, what you'll say, or how you'll behave in every situation, emotional excitement begins to fade. There's no edge, no sense of discovery, but when you bring a little bit of surprise into the dynamic, not in a manipulative or inconsistent way, but by simply revealing different layers of yourself over time, you create a space where he's constantly learning about you. That unfolding process is what keeps things alive. He never quite feels like he has you completely figured out, and that keeps him coming back. Mystery doesn't mean playing games or withholding affection. It means having a life, passions, and thoughts that exist independently of him. It's the quiet confidence of not needing to prove yourself, of not rushing to fill silences, of knowing your worth without constantly broadcasting it. When you show that you're someone with your own world, your own interests, dreams, and emotional depth, you become someone he wants to know more about. And the more he leans in to try and understand you, the deeper his connection grows. Part of the mystery also lies in your emotional responses. If you're always overly available, always saying yes, or constantly trying to please him, there's no challenge, no friction, no sense of balance. But when you respond in a way that's thoughtful rather than automatic, when you take a beat before giving your energy, you signal that your attention is earned, not freely given to just anyone. That subtle signal speaks volumes. It tells him that there is more to you than meets the eye, and he'll need to show up with real substance to match your depth. Mystery is about allowing room for imagination. When he walks away from a conversation with you and finds himself thinking about something you said, or wondering what you're doing, or planning how to get more time with you, that's where emotional hooks are set. It's not always in the big gestures, but in the subtle impressions you leave behind. A glance, a pause, a slightly unexpected answer. These are the moments that spark intrigue. When used authentically, mystery isn't about being distant or cold. It's about being whole, layered, and not immediately available for full access. And in that space of the unknown, attraction grows. Challenge is one of the most underrated forces in creating lasting attraction, especially when it comes to how a man perceives a woman's value. When something is too easy to obtain, human nature tends to devalue it. It's not about being difficult for the sake of it or playing hard to get in a manipulative way, but about having standards, boundaries, and a strong sense of self that isn't compromised just to gain someone's approval. When a man senses that you are selective with your time, energy, and affection, not because you're cold, but because you know your worth, it instantly raises your value in his eyes. He recognizes that he has to show up in a meaningful way to earn a place in your life. The truth is, challenge activates a deeper level of emotional engagement. When something required effort, focus, and persistence, we become more invested in it. It's basic psychology. A man who has to work to win your attention or trust ends up valuing it more because he had to earn it. And in the process, he also earns a sense of pride and accomplishment. The dynamic becomes one of mutual respect, not one-sided pursuit. You are not someone he simply wins over. You are someone he continues to grow with, prove himself to, and be inspired by. That process of stepping up to meet your standards strengthens his connection to you far more than instant gratification ever could. Being a challenge doesn't mean being unkind or playing games. It means showing that you have a full life and that your sense of happiness doesn't depend on him. It's the ability to say no when something doesn't feel right, to walk away from situations that don't serve you, and to hold out for the kind of behavior that reflects genuine care and respect. When you do that, you create a kind of healthy friction that keeps the relationship dynamic and emotionally charged. You're not giving everything away too soon, and that restraint makes every moment with you feel more meaningful. It also communicates confidence. A woman who is a challenge exudes the kind of energy that says, "I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to be alone if something doesn't feel right." That's incredibly powerful. It tells a man that he can't just coast. He has to rise to the occasion, and most you men respect and crave that. They don't want someone who agrees with everything they say or who bends their identity to fit them. They want someone who has her own voice, her own standards, and who holds them with grace and certainty. In essence, being a challenge is about inspiring a man to bring his best to the table. It's about elevating the emotional dynamic so that the relationship isn't based on convenience, but on mutual admiration and effort. The more he works to understand you, support you, and win your trust, the more emotionally invested he becomes. And that emotional investment is the foundation for real, lasting connection. Authenticity is one of the most powerful and magnetic traits a person can have, especially in romantic dynamics. In a world full of filters, polished images, and people trying to be what they think others want, being unapologetically yourself stands out like a breath of fresh air. When you're authentic, you're not trying to impress someone by pretending to be more perfect, more agreeable, or more exciting than you really are. Instead, you're showing up as your real, raw self, flaws, quirks, strengths, opinions, and all. And that kind of openness creates trust and emotional connection almost instantly. It signals confidence because it says you're not afraid to be seen. It shows emotional maturity because it means you value truth over performance. And most importantly, it invites the other person to be real with you in return. Authenticity draws people in because it creates a sense of emotional safety. When a man senses that you're not hiding behind a mask or putting on a role to please him, he feels more comfortable dropping his guard as well. That vulnerability can lead to deeper conversations, more honest interactions, and a real connection that goes beyond surface attraction. When you laugh at your own jokes, speak your truth even if it's uncomfortable, or admit when you're nervous or unsure, you're giving him a glimpse of the real you. And when someone sees the real you and still wants to move closer, that's when true intimacy begins. Many people believe they need to present a perfect version of themselves to be liked. They downplay their opinions, fake enthusiasm, or act indifferent to protect themselves from rejection. But this only creates a hollow connection, one that lacks emotional depth. When you're authentic, even if it means being imperfect or occasionally misunderstood, the right person will find that energy captivating. He won't be attracted to some idealized version of you. He'll be drawn to your honesty, your values, and the way you carry yourself without needing external validation. Authenticity also filters out the wrong people. When you show up as your full self from the start, you naturally repel those who aren't aligned with who you truly are. And that's a good thing. It saves you time and heartache, and it draws in the kind of connection that's based on mutual respect and genuine compatibility. You stop attracting people who like the act and start attracting people who love the real you. What makes authenticity so magnetic is that it's rare and courageous. It means being emotionally present, trusting your instincts, and expressing your thoughts and desires without apology. That level of Honesty requires inner strength, and men who are emotionally available will recognize and respect that strength. They'll feel energized by your presence, not because you're performing, but because you're fully alive in your truth. That truth becomes your glow. It creates a vibe that's impossible to fake and even harder to forget. And in a world that often rewards conformity, being real is the boldest and most attractive thing you can be. Believing that you are the prize completely shifts the energy of how you show up in dating and relationships. It's not about arrogance or acting superior to anyone else. It's about knowing your inherent value and not placing someone else on a pedestal just because you're interested in them. When you see yourself as the prize, you stop chasing validation. You stop trying to prove your worth. Instead, you begin to embody self-respect, self-awareness, and quiet confidence, all of which are deeply attractive qualities. People feel the difference when you carry yourself this way. You're no longer seeking someone to complete you. You're looking for someone who aligns with your already complete life. Chasing often comes from a place of insecurity or scarcity. It's the mindset that if you don't act fast enough, say the right things, or go out of your way to win someone over, you'll lose them. That kind of energy can be exhausting, not only for you, but for the person on the receiving end. When someone feels that you're trying too hard to gain their attention or affection, it creates imbalance. It shifts the dynamic from mutual interest to one-sided pursuit. But when you approach love from the mindset that you are the one bringing value into the relationship, you reverse that pattern. You start evaluating rather than simply hoping to be chosen. Being the prize means that you don't abandon your standards just because someone shows interest. It means you move slowly and intentionally, allowing people to reveal their character through their actions. It also means that you don't make excuses for poor behavior or accept breadcrumbs of attention. You don't chase someone who is inconsistent or unsure about you because you trust that your value doesn't decrease just because someone else doesn't see it. That trust in yourself becomes a kind of quiet power, one that people feel even if you never say a word. This mindset also allows you to show up more relaxed and authentic. When you're not constantly trying to impress or chase, you get to be present, playful, and curious instead. You listen more, observe more, and allow chemistry to develop organically. Ironically, this makes you even more attractive. People are drawn to those who aren't desperate for attention, who carry themselves with self-respect, and who don't collapse their lives around the possibility of a relationship. That detachment from outcome is powerful. It says, I would love to build something real, but I'm not going to lose myself to make it happen. Seeing yourself as the prize also changes how you handle rejection or disinterest. Instead of taking it as a reflection of your worth, you see it as simple misalignment. You no longer internalize every setback. You keep moving, knowing that the right person will recognize your value without needing to be convinced, and that kind of energy isn't just empowering, it's irresistible. It signals that you're not chasing love to feel whole. You already are. You're just choosing who is worthy of sharing in it with you.